Hey, what's up? It's Frank here from Data Driven, the podcast where we explore the emerging fields of data science and machine learning. If you saw the logos on the intro video, you'll also notice that I'm available at the following URLs: franksworld.com, impactquantum.com, and datadriven.tv. And you're probably wondering, like, hey, one, Frank, you need a haircut, which is true, I do. And two, you're not in the the control center with all the monitors. I actually just figured it was a beautiful day, and um, just figured I would take a couple of calls from the back deck and show off some of the fall foliage that is available here. See, there are some messy parts of the deck, but there's the backyard and some of the fall foliage. There's a dog walking by there. And I figured I would just do a quick live stream from out here. If you saw the title, you're probably wondering, like, Frank, why did you say Happy New Year? Well, I'm happy to tell you. So a few years back, I had one of the worst years I've had in quite some time. I was laid off. I had a concussion. My mom was in the hospital, nearly died. Um, and the cat died, and it was just a bad time, right? It was a transitional time. Things were kind of crazy, and I just remember kind of everything just seemingly turning to garbage. And recently, I finished a book by Ed Milet, and Ed Milet is famous for saying, I don't think he invented the phrase, but it was something to the effect that life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. Now, here I am, so many years later. I can kind of see that. And that year was so bad. So many bad things happened that year that I decided that I would just say, you know what, I'm going to end the year early, right? People talk about this where they, this is my year, this is my year, or whatever, and they wait till New Year's. So what I did was, you know what, this is so ridiculous, so over the top. I'm going to end the year early, and I mentally set All Saints Day as being New Year's for me, right? So in my mind, it's already 2023. And one of the things, I know it sounds weird, I know it sounds hokey, but one of the things that fascinated me, and I remember this to this day, I was a sophomore in high school, and my homeroom teacher slash religion class teacher um, had basically said, was talking about the importance of New Year's and how every society around the world has some kind of New Year's celebration and New Year's observation, and it's different. I think in context we were talking about Chinese Lunar New Year versus kind of the Western holiday. Hold on one second while I. Why don't you guys go outside and play soccer? So I didn't time this stream great. All the kids just came home from school. All right, so where was I? Yeah, so it was fascinating to kind of life happens when you make other plans, right? Am I right? So what happened is he basically said that, and that fascinated me. So um the observation of a turn of a new year is very much largely an arbitrary concept. Obviously, there's time is a real, well, depending who you talk to, depending on whom you talk to, time is either real or it's an illusion. But ultimately, kind of the thinking I had, and this is just me having too much coffee and kind of just thinking about it. But ultimately, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to take this All Saints Day and make it a new year. In fact, in times historical, one would argue that it was Celtic New Year, right? And I would spend November thinking about my goals for next year, right? Doing the whole New Year's resolution things kind of 2 months early. And that worked out well for me personally because my kids both have December birthdays. So the entire month of December is just absolute chaos. And January is the crash. think about it. If you're these kids, they have everything. There's Christmas, there's their birthday, and then there's New Year's. It's just chaos, right? And January is just kind of them adjusting to kind of normal reality. So for me, that worked out really well, and kind of creating my own holiday, if you will, or really New All Saints Day was always a big deal with my grandmother. It's a big, it was always a big dinner and whatnot. Um, so it just seemed like a good holiday as any. And when I started doing it, and it also allows me to kind of think about my goals and my New Year's resolution a little early. Um, and kind of do it in a time where, let's face it, once the holidays start, like Thanksgiving, that 6 weeks is just madness. It's extra madness for me because my kids have their birthdays, but it's really the last calm period of the year for me and a lot of folks. And but for me, it's worked out pretty well. And this year I actually took yesterday off and kind of um I want to say I spent the entire day pondering my goals and whatnot, but I ended up helping out my wife with some projects around the house. Um and which, serving your family, that's a pretty good thing to do. That's why there's ladders here. Um Serving your family, making a better home for yourself and for them, and a better life for them. Yeah, that's a pretty worthwhile spending of time. I've made sure that my kids have access to things I never had. Um, just the house that we have, the ability to have as many monitors as I want. um, the ability to rescue and foster dogs, the ability to kind of have quiet and space around us, and all those things. I know my parents sacrificed for me, and I saw my parents struggle, and I didn't want to be in that same boat. Well, all of which is to say, Happy New Year, right? um, and just for them to just hang out and play, it warms my heart. And maybe this kind of New Year's for me is about spending more time with my family. This is something we always talk about, but um, when you see kind of the Facebook photos come in where they say, this happened, this picture was like 5 years ago. It goes by quick. The days are long, but the years go by fast, and it's good that we take time from our normal busy schedule and kind of pause and reflect on, where was I so many years ago when I had the concussion, when my mom was really sick. My mom passed away last year, but I got a few more extra years with her. Um, the concussion, the layoff, all forced me to kind of think better about my health, think better about what I wanted to do. It was the genesis of the podcast. The podcast came out of that crazy time period. So again, thinking what Ed Milet said is that it happens for you, not to you. Um, and he has a new book out. It's called The Power of One More. Highly recommend the audiobook. He's a podcaster, um, the Ed Milet Show, and highly recommend listening to that. But his book, his voice, his delivery is awesome. I would go check it out. It's at thedatadrivenbook.com. You'll get one free audiobook on us. And if you sign up, then that helps support the show and all the other cool stuff Andy and I are always working on. Um, Another interesting thing is, um, I forgot what I was going to say. There we go. Um, if you haven't checked it out, and I don't get any money from this, like I think they're doing great work, is humblebundle.com. They have really good book deals. I think I've shared this before on various streams, but check it out. There's a couple of interesting ones there about mathematics, mechatronics, and robotics. There's a make.com robotics kit. And my kids were asking about, like, hey, my youngest wants to build a robot. I'm wonder what he's trying to do. But if you look at the world that they're going to inherit, it's going to be inherently kind of STEM related. But what's cool is, like, the cost of these books are, like, you get like 20 books for $20 or something like that. Like it really works out. They're ebooks, so there's really no material cost. It's pretty brilliant actually what they've done. I've spent a lot of money on this website. There's also some interesting stuff there around training around building your own video games. So if you have folks, and we are coming to the holiday season, um, so if you have folks that want to learn, if you want to learn, if you're in a position where you've been recently laid off, I know a lot of folks at Microsoft have been recently affected by this, but I think that um, we live in an incredible time where you can learn any skill. You go to the Kindle app and you can get a book downloaded like that. Um, you can go to YouTube, you can learn any skill. You go to Pluralsight, you go to LinkedIn Learning, you go to any of these sites, you go to the datachannel.tv, right? Shameless plug. And you can learn any one of these skills all from the comfort of your phone, of your computer. And that was really something that inspired me, that was many years ago, was to pick up data science, um, and kind of retool and reskill. And I always think about what else should I be learning, right? Like um, what else should I be learning? And that's also something I like to ponder this time of year. If you look at the outside, I'm not flexing, I swear, but what you're seeing, you know, with the fall foliage, you're really seeing decay. I mean, that's ultimately what it is, right? They are shedding their leaves and they're going to go dormant for the winter. And but it looks beautiful. It is actually providing, I guess, fertilizing the ground for the spring, and it's kind of shutting down for winter. Nature's shutting down for winter. It looks like it's in decay. It looks like it's never going to come back again. But sure enough, after the storms pass, after the winter, the spring comes again. And I think that I don't know. There's a beautiful message in there. Maybe I should ask the AI that Ian Thomas put together. So if you haven't listened to the latest episode of Data Driven, you're wondering, what are you talking about, Frank? Um, there was a gentleman who's a poet, AI technologist, and writer who I interviewed, and he and Jasmine Wong or Wang, I forget her last name exactly. She trained up, the two of them trained up a GPT-3 model with various spiritual, philosophical, um, and poetic texts that answer kind of the big questions. Why are we here? What happens when we die? How do you explain death to your children? All those sorts of things. And he asked it of that, and very fascinating results. Very, very moving. Very, there's a passage at the end where he reads out basically the AI's answer to how do I explain death to my children. And it was very moving, very fascinating. So with that, I'm going to end this stream and see what the kids are getting up to and see if I can get a haircut. So with that, I will say thank you very much. And how do I? There we go. Have a good one.